Son of Sam, true story of the nighttime killer who terrorized New York. New York, 1976. A city that never sleeps until he arrived. He had no face, no identity, just a gun and eyes as cold as death. He didn't kill for money. He didn't kill for revenge. He killed because blood was the only thing that made him feel alive. I'm your storyteller tonight, and I'm taking you inside the mind of a monster, the one the world calls Son of Sam. Sit down. Turn off the lights. This story is not for the faint of heart. Tonight, I'll tell you about the terrifying murders he left behind, every shot, every drop of blood, every last look of his victims. Are you ready? July 29, 1976. The heat was unbearable. Donna Loria, 18, had just left the movie theater with her friend Jody Valenti. Two young girls, their long brown hair flowing in the warm night air, laughing as they got into their parked car on a quiet Bronx street. They turned on the radio, disco music filled the air. But they had no idea that just a few feet away, hidden in the shadows, a pair of eyes were watching. His name was David, but no one knew that yet. He stepped closer, his footsteps heavy, like the drums of death. He wasn't in a hurry. He liked to watch them smile, to watch them live, before taking it all away. And then, bang! A bullet to Donna's chest, she died instantly. The second shot hit Jody in the shoulder, but she survived, crawling out of the car, blood spilling onto the pavement. David stood there for a moment, admiring his work like an artist gazing at a freshly painted masterpiece. Then, he vanished into the darkness, leaving only the sound of barking dogs echoing from a nearby alley. The police thought it was a botched robbery. But I know, and soon, you will too, this was only the beginning. 3 months later, October 23rd. David was hungry again. This time, he chose Carl Denaro, 20, and his girlfriend, Rosemary Keenan. Parked in a quiet corner of Queens, the moonlight casting a faint glow on the windshield, Carl had just finished telling a joke. Rosemary laughed. But that laughter didn't last long. David stood in the shadows, fingers tracing the metal of his .44 like it was a beloved pet. He tilted his head, listening to their happiness. And then, he raised the gun. Bang! Bang! 2 shots shattered the car's window. Carl collapsed onto the steering wheel, blood streaming from his head. Rosemary screamed, fumbling for the door handle, but the third shot missed, striking the car's body instead. Carl survived, but the bullet tore through part of his skull, leaving him with lifelong pain. Rosemary ran a few steps before collapsing in shock. David stepped over the scene, picked up the spent shell casings, he was always careful, then disappeared into the night. Again, the sound of barking dogs filled the air, like a haunting soundtrack. This time, the police grew suspicious. 2 crimes. The same .44 caliber gun. The same sudden, brutal attack. New York was beginning to feel the breath of fear. By April 1977, David didn't just want to kill, he wanted the world to know him. April 17, 1977. Valentina Suriani, 18, and Alexander Esau, 20, were sitting in their car in the Bronx. They had just left a party, hands intertwined, unaware that death was approaching. David stood just a few feet away, whispering something, perhaps a message from Sam, the entity he believed controlled him. Then, he fired. Bang! 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 3 shots in quick succession. Valentina slumped forward, her white blouse turning red. Alexander tried to crawl out, but the 4th bullet ended him. David crouched down, placed a letter beside their bodies, and walked away. That letter was a declaration of war. I am a monster. I love to hunt. Don't think you can catch me. The police trembled as they read it, but the public? They were terrified. Women dyed their hair. Couples stopped going out. David had turned New York into his personal hunting ground. And he wasn't done yet. He wanted more blood. July 31, 1977. The summer heat was suffocating. Stacy Moskowitz, 20, and Robert Violante, 20, parked near a Brooklyn park. They were dreaming of a bright future, but to David, they were just his final prey. He stood there, watching them for hours. He loved the wait, the power of knowing they were about to die without the slightest clue. Then, he stepped forward, gun raised. Bang! The first shot struck Stacy in the head. She collapsed instantly, blood splattering against the windshield. Robert screamed, trying to shield himself, but the second bullet tore through his face, destroying his left eye. Stacy died on the spot. Robert survived but was left blind in one eye, carrying that pain for the rest of his life. This time, David didn't have time to pick up the shell casings. He walked away, but this time, he left a trace. Small, but enough to bring his whole world crashing down. Cecilia Davis, a woman living near the park, couldn't sleep that night. She looked out her window and saw a man in black leaving the scene, walking quickly toward a yellow Ford Galaxy parked illegally. She had no idea she had just witnessed the son of Sam, but she remembered that car. And that changed everything. The police got a call at midnight. They weren't sure if it was a real lead until one sharp-eyed officer remembered a parking ticket had been issued days earlier near that area for a yellow Ford Galaxy, registered to one David Berkowitz. An unknown name. A nobody. But now, all eyes were on him. August 10, 1977. Task Force Omega, over 200 detectives hunting the son of Sam, decided to strike. They traced the address to Yonkers, a quiet neighborhood just outside New York. When they arrived, they found the yellow Ford Galaxy parked in front of a small, rundown apartment. Their hearts pounded. This could be him. They knocked. No answer. Detective Miller kicked the door open. The room was dark, the air thick with dampness. Their flashlights scanned the space, peeling wallpaper, a cluttered desk. And then they saw it. A .44 Bulldog revolver, sitting on the table. Next to it, a tattered notebook, filled with frantic scribbles. Blood for Sam. Kill to live. But where was David? Then, footsteps. Coming from the back stairs. He was trying to run. Miller burst through the back door, yelling, "Stop! Police!" David, dressed in a black coat, turned. His eyes gleamed like a cornered animal. He raised his hands, not to surrender, but to pull a knife from his pocket. Officer Riley tackled him to the ground. The knife clattered away. Blood dripped from David's hand as he struggled. As they shoved him into the police car, he didn't cry. He didn't beg. He just smiled a cold, lifeless grin. "You got me," he said. "I'm son of Sam." His apartment was a house of horrors, spent shell casings, maps marked with crime scenes, and pages filled with deranged ramblings about his neighbor's dog. But I know, and soon, you will too, these were just excuses. His thirst for blood was his own. So the next time you walk down an empty street at night, listen carefully. If you hear a dog barking, run. Because who knows? Maybe the night hunter is still out there, waiting for his next prey. Thanks for staying until the end. Leave your thoughts in the comments, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss the next terrifying story. Good night, and stay safe.